that because you can't send it by post, the customs will reject it. And Triphala and some other Ayurvedic preparations. And when he had a bad bladder cancer is, most of our doctors know it's not an easy cancer, it's a very bad cancer. But he lived comfortably, happy, going all around the world, lecturing, doing everything with that cancer inside him, or cancer had died. He had a very good urologist. The urologist was shocked. He was, of course, a black urologist in America. And the urologist came and phoned me up and said, "What magic did you do? His cancer has disappeared. I can't see anything in his bladder now." I said, "We didn't do anything. The man didn't want to die. He has a mission in life and he will not die." And he went on. And even today I go to see his widow. She is a professor herself in her own right. They were actually together doing PhD under this fellow, what's his name? Linus Pauling in Berkeley. And they got married. She's an American. Though Rustum Roy has married an American and converted himself into a Christian, he still has pujas. He has he comes from a very Kuleen Brahmin family in Bengal. And that's the kind of a man I had to associate with. And all that I did was because of his benevolence. And those days, anything for research money you want, you just say, "Rusty, I want money." And money will come. Because if he just phones up a company, because he was a consultant to all the diamond manufacturers in South Africa, because he can convert graphite into diamond in his laboratory in 5 minutes. And he is the one who consults for the American government. He can walk into the White House and talk to the president because he gives them the newer, lighter material for aircraft, for fighter aircrafts. And he is the consultant to the US Air Force. Money was coming. When after he died, my elder brother is the only one I have. So I say, "Pana illiye, enna pandrathe?" Pana comes. And Chennai has been a very nice place because maximum panam for my work I got from Chennai. Because we have one principle: don't take money from the drug companies. Don't you touch them even with the Bajipur. And don't you take money from the government. A, you have to know the ropes. B, you should know how to write those rubbish, what you call protocols. I just can't. I just hate writing those. And then at the end, you must know somebody to grease up there. And you must have your own club, the peer club, patting each other on the back. Then only you get money. Because here, you are called a scientist if you get more money from research. And we call a lot of research. Forget about India. John Ioannidis is a professor of medicine in Stanford who wrote recently, after researching, that 98% of what comes out in the top journals is either rubbish, fraud, or wrong. Can you believe that? Of course, he lost his job in Stanford. He went to Greece from where he comes, started doing research and then published papers. Stanford called him again, and he is back in Stanford now. So this is what happens to people if you did it. Now anyway, from Rustum Roy, we learnt that, and we met another man, another Nobel laureate, alternate Nobel laureate, etc., our Srinivasan's friend, whom we got last year to give the talk on this day, Hans-Peter Dior, who is the emeritus director of the Max Planck Institute in Munich, and he is my co-editor-in-chief now. And we've been working and going on. Now what we found, I'm going to tell you only one thing now, because now, time me now, because otherwise I go by the calendar. Now time. He switched it on, that's a bad man. Now you can switch it to 40 minutes. Now, I was frustrated with the medicine and the chemical drugs, the reductionist drugs, the kind of surgeries that we do in most of the cases, except of course emergency surgeries and corrective surgeries. Supposing somebody has a VSD and the child is otherwise very healthy, if I correct the VSD on time, that child is a normal child. But if I'm going to put a tube where God has put a lot of good tubes already, yesterday I saw a patient who is sitting here behind you, and you must see his coronary angiogram. It is full of collaterals. It's a flush, whole thing is flush. And he has some block somewhere, which if he didn't have, he wouldn't be alive today. He would have died long back. And then he was told to have bypass surgery. Can you believe that? That kind of surgery I hate. I don't hate the surgeon, the surgery I hate. And the first paper I wrote in 1995 in the Edinburgh Journal, which said, "Time for reappraising coronary revascularization," got me so much of hate mail, but CVK has preserved that article and says it's a good article even now. And a lot of people now say it's a good article. It takes a lot of bangings first. You get fantastic letters. I have got a collection of hate mail which is really worth reading on a day when you're depressed. Because you really get to know who you are. You know, they call you all by all funny names. Never get worried, because I always follow Churchill, who said, he has a right to criticize, who has a heart to help. So if the criticism is to help me, I would take any criticism. You call me a dog, if it helps me, I will be happy. I'll first think, am I a dog? Because I know what I am, so that they might worry about it. So many of us, have these considered ideas. If I'm a monkey, and if I don't accept I'm a monkey, and I want to project the world that I'm a tiger, I'm all the time tense. Ingayavadhu nama monkey theriya poradhan. But if I know I'm a monkey, and I think I'm a monkey, and behave like a monkey, why should I worry? I know I'm a monkey, so it doesn't matter. That's my philosophy in life. That's why I lie. Touch wood. Now, this medicine is something which I, really, really don't like. And I, for one, have been avoiding it like poison. Everybody was taking aspirin, and they were saying, you're not taking aspirin, you bloody fool. Aspirin will keep you alive. Now, I wrote an article about aspirin 25 years ago. I said aspirin is bad. It may not reduce heart attacks, but it will certainly increase stroke, and that too cerebral hemorrhage. Aspirin is bad because it will produce a lot of degeneration. Now, recently, 1 month ago, there's an article which said aspirin takers have 3 times more chance of becoming blind very early because it produces macular degeneration. And it said aspirin takers have the chance of getting cerebral hemorrhage 10 times more. And aspirin takers do not get reduction in fatal heart attack. There is a slight reduction in non-fatal heart attack. Actually, non-fatal heart attack is good because your heart remodulates itself. We only try to. And I have been writing about drugs for so much times, and now I am very happy. The recent American College of Cardiology said there are some drugs which we use for heart which are producing more heart damage and death. And would you believe, in that list, American list, are beta blockers, about which I have been writing from 1962. When I first met Professor Barlow in Paris, who was the man who took together beta blockers, and I had an argument with him about propranolol. He was advocating about 240 milligrams of propranolol 3 times a day for patients. And I was telling him, if I gave that to my patients in India, they'll be dead long ago. And 10 years later, he writes a paper. Yes, there is a silent gap in propranolol. 10 milligrams propranolol is as effective as 240 milligrams in some people. It's a beautiful things. I was once almost an outcast in Dubai, where I had to oppose Norman Kaplan, the biggest name in hypertension. He was talking about alpha blockers. He was paid by the company, fantastic slides, first class fare. I was invited by the one professor in Dubai who knew me. He's an Englishman. And I was to oppose that. And he ridiculed me. And everybody clapped because he was a big man, I was a small man. 1 year later, in America, I was there lecturing. In the morning, when I get up in the hotel, there's a radio saying, alpha blockers have been found to be very bad because they have produced 35% more heart failures, and the drug has been withdrawn. Now every American, 1 million of you here, must go to your doctor today and ask for an alternative. Don't stop the drug on your own. Then I called Norman Kaplan from my hotel room and said, Kaplan, see, did you see the radio today? I know, yaar, our thoughts are now going in the same direction. That's the interesting part. So, but I knew energy helps. Very interesting, because I have seen my own school teacher, village school teacher, who used to come to our house, because our house children were not supposed to go to school. He is still alive. He is 99. Rangappa Master is his name. His cap, that white cap. The day the vaccinator came and gave me 4 vaccinations, this man comes home and takes the tulsi leaf and chants some mantra and squeezes that leaf onto 3 of them. I only have 1 scar of primary vaccination. The 3 did not take at all. And that has impressed me so much. And Rajagopalacharya is talking about BCG. I was the only one thinking, here is a sensible man, though he's not a doctor. And today we know most, if not all, vaccinations, except smallpox vaccination, is more a fraud than science. There's a PhD thesis on vaccination science from the Australian University in Brisbane, which completely demolishes the hypothesis. Yes, if you get a disease, many diseases give you permanent immunity. But by producing a disease by giving attenuated thing, that kinds of things is a myth, more a myth than. But vaccine industry is very powerful. Very, very powerful. You don't know that. And do you know who owned the vaccine industry? Bill Gates, people like that. 57% of Bill Gates' wealth is in the vaccine industry. So he is doing a lot of charity. Where I am the president of the chairman of the Bihar State Health. Even today we have Kala Azar in Bihar. So his year 2009 was the year for leishmaniasis. So I wrote to him, please give me money. I want to eradicate Kala Azar from Bihar. I gave a plan that I'll remove all the thatched houses, because it's a thatched house with the mud wall. That's the cause of the sandfly sitting there. During rainy season, it becomes sandfly. And I said I'll remove all that and give them a tenement. One room, concrete tenement with a toilet. So we're hitting two things with one thing. Kalas are gone forever and hookworm removed. So Bihar becomes healthy. So he said, oh, wonderful idea. We'll give you $250 million that you asked for. What? 250 million worth of vaccination against Kalas. So I told him, okay, you give this vaccine, I give everybody vaccination. He may or may not survive. But what about the sandfly? His son will get the Kala Azar. Even today he has not given money. He came to Bihar and my chief minister called me. I said, I'm not coming to see him. He convinced the chief minister and got another $100 million worth of polio vaccine. It is good, polio vaccine is good, but for healthy children, not for poor children. Even the textbook of medicine writes, do not give oral polio for a malnourished child, and if you have to give an injection polio. But in India, we give polio vaccine to malnourished children. I wrote an article, and I had a case put on by our deputy commissioner, and I had to go to the court to answer that. When I was vice chancellor, I started a diploma in Ayurveda for MBBS doctors, took students from all over the world, 6 students, because they were not paying. The university, on my behest, spent about 10 crores of rupees. And I wrote to everybody saying that I'm doing this, do you have objection? Nobody objected. 1 year later, it was a 2-year course, they went to the High Court against me. And the High Court judge said this is illegal according to the 1949 judgment of the Punjab High Court, which says an Ayurvedic cannot be taught modern medicine. I can't understand that judgment. And he said, course is stopped, every student must get 10 lakhs of compensation. Imagine a university where I was vice chancellor, it's a private university, we're paying so much money. And they still had me, they didn't throw me out. This is the difficulty I'm telling you. Anyway, now this healing, body heals itself. You have a fantastic doctor inside, which we call as the immune system. 99 times you are healed. Though of course, the body heals and we take the credit when the patient survives. If the patient dies, we say, I've done everything possible. The best that could be done in America I have done. One injection is 2.5 lakhs of rupees I have given, and 4 times I have done bone marrow transplant. Of course, the dead body with 44 lakhs is the bill. You put the blame on God. In either case, the God is the man who takes the guilt. You don't take the guilt. I'm talking of a professor of cardiovascular surgery in our college who was told that his cancer will be cured in X center in Tamil Nadu. And the man came here. I told him, don't go, this cancer has no treatment. And 44 lakhs was the bill, 3 bone marrow transplants, and every day 1 injection for 2.5 lakhs. And the injection man is waiting when he's dead also to see the next injection is due today. This is what we are doing. So friends, I'll quickly go through what we have been doing for the last about, next slide. Next slide. This is a physicist who said, the universe, of course I added that human body, is immaterial. Did you know that? You all think you're matter, sitting here, moving and then saying, I'm the man who is running India. I'm the, this party's head or that party's tail or something like that. You are nothing because you are immaterial. Immaterial not in the English literature sense. You are no matter. You are energy. Mental and spiritual. Richard Conn Henry is not a small man like me. He's a professor of physics in Johns Hopkins. Next slide, quickly. And then 2005, we met again in the Penn State University. And 4 of us are seen, but 13 of us are there. Unfortunately, that photographer did not photograph all of us. What you see on the right-hand corner is my dear friend, mentor, is almost like God, Professor Rustum Roy, who became a priest to get married. All people in the Penn State University, one of the largest universities with nearly 1 lakh of students in 5 centers, get them married in his house free, with his wife giving 5 people dinner. And any husband and wife want to marry and they have no money, they have to just come there. He is a priest, he doubles up as a priest and gets them married and gives them food. This is a wonderful man. He's a cancerologist, Joey Jones, and he is CVK's patient. He is a very bad diabetic. His blood sugars are always 400, 500. He doesn't, of course, take the treatment that CVK advises. He takes energy medicine. And he had a very bad cancer. He's a cancerologist, head of the Department of Cancer. He's a physicist and a radiologist. He's an MD in medicine and a PhD in physics. And he took pranic healing for treatment of his cancer. He's still alive and his cancer completely disappeared. And he did the first ever laboratory study funded by the NIH, $100 million, $100,000. And what was the study? He produced cancer in HeLa cell series in the laboratory by irradiating them, and then cover the cancer cell in a box called the Faraday box, where no energy enters. Correct? Yes, Faraday box. In the Faraday box, to be doubly sure, he put a lead shield and then called the Amerindian pranic healers who healed him of his cancer to heal the cells. So they sat there for 1 week, and when the cells were looked at after a week, 88% of the cells had completely become normal. But 12% of the cells, the cancer was growing. And this Joey Jones looks like that. He's a great proponent of Sanatana Dharma. And there were 3 observers from the NIH to see what this madman was spending their $100,000 for. So he told them, each one of you write a check for $100. Your own money, not NIH money, not black money, white money. And then pray, let this donation to a charity help the cells to cure. 3 of them paid $100 each and prayed sincerely. Lo and behold, the experiment was repeated. 100% of the cells healed. The first ever study of karma effect in science, published by one of the leading, actually it's the #1 cancer laboratory in the world. He is the professor of cancerology in the University of California in Irvine, still alive there, lost his job because of the study, of course, but he's still continuing his research. This is Hans-Peter Dürr, whom many of you must have seen last year, and this is where our journal was born. Next slide. Hans-Peter showed that matter is energy, energy is matter, and very interestingly, treating anything with energy is very easy. Look at those cells which became normal in 1 week's time. Do you know why? The energy travels at the speed of light, 186,000 miles per second. You give an energy treatment, it travels at 186,000 miles per second. And our chemical medicine travels at 1 centimeter per second. You take the medicine now, it goes to the stomach, then to the intestine, then gets absorbed, then goes to the liver to be destroyed because the body accepts every medicine, chemical medicine, as poison, and then it destroys. And we all studied in pharmacology the first pass effect, and we didn't know what first pass effect was. Professor of pharmacology also didn't understand. First pass effect is if the body's liver cannot destroy all the drug, something comes out, and that's called the first pass effect. So which means any chemical reductionist drug that you take destroys your liver 100%. Today, my wife died of a liver disease, which she had no reason to die because she has not drank alcohol at all. We call it non-alcoholic cirrhosis. And people now tell me, the liverologists tell me, sir, this is a very common disease now because we give a lot of drugs to everyone. I couldn't save my own wife. They wanted to do liver transplant and what have you, but her time had come. May her soul rest in peace. This is what I'm saying. And this is every drug goes to the liver. So we don't have any one of those problems with this. Next slide, please. This is our World Academy of Healing Sciences, our founder president, and I'm now the president. Next slide, please. And this is the journal. This is how we start. Next slide. This is our editorial board. If any one of you know scientists, every known scientist all over the globe is on our editorial board, from Russia to Japan to United States, the UK, and where have you? Next slide, please. Australia. Friends, modern medicine survives and lives on surrogate evidence. You know surrogate evidence? I give you a chemical, your blood pressure is recorded coming down, so I say this drug is good for blood pressure and you. Audit shows something else, that's a different story. This is how the world is growing warm story, which even got Nobel Prize, is based on surrogate evidence. What's the evidence? Women's underwear is becoming smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller from the 18th century. So, world is really becoming very warm. Otherwise, why would they have a small underwear? To see today's underwear and 18th century underwear. Next slide, please. This is called surrogate evidence. Friends, let me all warn you. We are all Kupa Mandukas. That's a beautiful word. Kupa Manduka. This is a Spanish flag. Have you seen the Spanish flag? Which used to have the insignia, Satyameva Jayate. Our flag is Anratameva Jayate, na Satyam. But that is Satyameva Jayate. Do you know what it says? Ne plus ultra. Ne means no, plus means more, ultra means beyond. No more beyond. Because Spain thought they are the end of the world. There was no world. When Christopher Columbus went and saw the Americas and came back, they didn't want to change the flag because they were very stingy people. The Queen of Spain was very stingy. She said, remove the ne only. So they removed the ne. This is today's flag. Plus ultra, more beyond. Friends, all our so-called science is in the ne plus ultra stage. Science, beyond that, no science. No, you remove the ne plus ultra, there is something more, which science cannot grasp. Peter Medawar, a Nobel laureate, wrote a small book called Limits of Science, where he writes, you can't ask ultimate questions to science because it's not designed to answer them. Science is like a railway engine which is supposed to run on a track. If you ask that engine to fly, it can't fly. So science cannot ask, you can't ask why. And Charles Sherrington, a Nobel laureate physiologist in 1899 said, positive sciences will never be able to answer the question why. They'll be at best answer the question how or how much. Ratio re is therefore not reason why. And this is why I became what I am today, a fool. I was like any one of the conventional doctors, having had some training in, they say, in some of the best places. Came back, I was very arrogant, I thought I knew everything, and I was the last person because I was trained by Nobel laureate Bernard Lowell, who of course told me one thing, angiograms must be stopped in the world for people's good. The angiogram is not the gold standard for diagnosis anyway. So if you don't stop it, more and more people will have tubes inserted in them. You know, there was a man called Arbuthnot Lane in 18th century London who used to remove everybody's colon for everything because he thought the poison comes from the colon. So in London, time came in London, every rich man had no colon at all and had a bag of feces coming in a tummy. London was stinking. So 1823, the young man called James Wakeley got a new study. He said, London doctors have become a bunch of corrupt, incompetent, nepotistic fools who are an abscess on the body, and I'm going to have a new science journal to puncture that abscess, which I call as the Lancet, 1823. And 1824, Bernard Shaw wrote Doctor's Dilemma. After reading that, Arbuthnot Lane stopped practicing medicine, and London was not stinking after that. You know, people had their colons. But you know, things happen that way. So today, every rich man in India has a bypass surgery done. He has a nice car. And you know, women who have a scar, they are very kitty party and club and all, they say they had a stent. You know, it's like a status symbol. Having a stent is a status symbol. It's like having, you know, you have Rolls Royce car and things like that. But what is the science behind it? Very little. Very little. Hardly any. So that is exactly, we are in Ne plus Ultra. But I want younger generation to read this beautiful book. Simple book, 75 rupees, Indian edition. Do read it. It's called The Golem. The, T-H-E, Golem, G-O-L-E-M. Do you know what Golem is? Golem, தெரியாதா? அந்த பில்டிங்கில் போடுவாங்களா கட்டுறப்போ ஒரு பெர்ச்சப்போ என்ன ஸ்கேர்க்ரோ ஸ்கேஃபோல்டிங் இல்லை scarecrow. That is called the Jewish word golem. And this golem is a beautiful book written by two physicists, Harry Collins and Trevor Pinch. Harry H-A-R-R-Y, Collins C-O-L-L-I-N-S, Trevor T-R-V-O-R, Pinch P-A-N-C-H. This is a fascinating book which says the whole of science is a golem. I'll give you one example. E is equal to mc squared. That's a theory that Einstein is supposed to have put forward. 18 scientists tried to find out whether it is true by experiments. 16 of them found it is not true. But one scientist, his name is Sir Arthur Stanley Eddington, who was a good friend of Einstein, did an experiment which was so shabby that on the day he photographed the stars, there was cloud. Still he said Einstein is right. So he says the whole thing is a golem. Come to germ theory. Even to date, Pasteur's theory of germs causing disease has not been proven in experiments. In Pasteur's lifetime, he couldn't do that. And when he died, he wrote, it is not the seed that is important, it is the soil, the immune system of the body. And today, do you know the treatment for severe infections in America? giving someone else's shit to you through a tube. Because we want germs. We have killed all our germs with antibiotics, and now this is called fecal transplant. When America does it, it's it's done in Johns Hopkins Hospital. Every patient gets a fecal transplant, and your infection is cured. And if Murarji Desai drinks urine, you spit at him. But if America gives you shit as treatment for 2.5 lakhs rupees, you take it as good. We still have this mentality. You can't help it. Next slide. Thambi, seekiram ponom. So, what is health? Health is not absence of disease. If I check you, all of us now, including me, with the TBS, total body scanner, each one will have at least half a dozen illnesses, serious illnesses from